Hey, this is Kevin Purcell with the Theotek podcast on air again. And this morning, Friday, 9 o'clock, as we do every week, we're going live. We want to share with you the latest news and information regarding Theotek, God's tech, in other words, church and Bible technology. And I'm here with the regular crowd, Wes Allen, who's up in the New Jersey and Philadelphia area, and then Rick Mansfield in the heart of my old stomping ground, Kentucky. He's in Louisville. And Antoine is sort of on and off. He's just down the road from me in Charlotte, and I'm here in the foothills of western North Carolina. And we're excited to talk to you about Bible and church technology. This week, we're just kind of going to go on a potpourri of Bible software and Bible news. And so, Wes, we're going to throw it over to you real quick. You had a chance to go and play with a new Apple Watch, didn't you?
Yeah, my wife had to go over to the mall, so I said, I'll take my son over. He wanted to go look at the Apple Watch, and we'll take a look at it. Just like we said before, I have no intention of getting one. It's just not something that really appeals to me. But I wanted to go put the interface through its paces and whatnot. And getting a hands-on just on the display model where I could, do the different things. It's a really nice interface. I was surprised at how nice it was. I was very skeptical about how easy it would be to tap the different icons on the home screen, and it worked really well. I thought the digital crown has a really wonderful feel to it, and the screen is stunning. It really is. It molds into the form factor, which I thought was really cool. And usually you need an appointment to try one on. I had been talking with with one of the guys there, and I have actually had contact with him before, and so he really likes me. He's like, listen, I got 10 minutes. You want to try one on now? So, yeah, so he did it officially, put it into the little computer and everything, and I tried on the both sizes of the watch, and it was interesting. I didn't know how big the thing would feel on my wrist, and I tried both sizes on it, and neither of them, they didn't look out of place. It just, to me, it felt like I had a watch on, which to me is a sign of a good wearable. It wasn't this big clunky box that's, taking up my wrist. But it also confirmed to me that I have really bony wrist, and I have no intention whatsoever at any time to put any type of thing on my wrist ever. So I guess if I'm ever going to do a wearable, it'll have to be glasses. And I get the heebie-jeebies anytime something's on my wrist. But I see that this is where the future is going. And I think the future is, I'm going to give you props, Antoine. The future is what Antoine's doing with his little, basically, feature phone, wrist phone that he can tether to a bigger device when he wants to do, more robust computing.
We've known for a long time that Antoine is from the future.
But it really is neat. If you get a chance to go try one on, just to see. It's amazing how much you can put into just that little thing. And I saw one of those too, Antoine, at the T-Mobile store.
One of the benefits I've heard of any of the watches is that you're not in your phone all the time. So many of us are stuck in our phone even when we're in in groups of other people. And with the phone, you can just kind of glance at your watch to see a notification or an email or whatever you've got coming to it, and kind of keeps you more social.
Yeah, and I thought that was it's an interesting thing. Although there is a picture of like 1920s New York, and they took a picture of the sidewalk. Everybody's sitting there waiting for a taxi with these big newspapers open, and they did 2013 same street, and everybody's looking at their phone. So this is just what people have done for ages, ever since we invented print, I think. One of the things that Kevin did want us to point out is that they do have a Bible app that Olive Tree has come out with that's on the phone. I think Antoine was really excited about this as he walked out of frame. He's like one of those cards, the chocolate frog cards in Harry Potter. That's amazing. He just walked right out of frame like that. That's kind of cool.
And the screenshot that they showed on Twitter of that had I can't remember the verse reference off the top of my head, but it talked about binding God's word on your wrist and forehead, and so
it's
certainly one way to do it.
On that.
Yeah.
Instead of a phylactery, now we have a smart watch. I think, Antoine, you said it would be useful if you're for doing mobile searches when people just want to ask you for something, and you just talk to your wrist, and suddenly you have every verse on something.
I think Antoine might be having Wi-Fi issues or something this morning, but
so are you.
Yeah, I am as well. But I was interested in that. Again, I'm not someone who's going to want to read my Bible on my watch. I mean, I can't imagine anyone enjoying that. But I think it'd be neat to get if a lot of us have a Bible app or two that will pop off a quick verse, and just a quick little hit of encouragement or challenge from the Word of God. I think that would be interesting. And so, I think that would be fun. I thought that Olive Tree was keeping us all quiet, and so since you are saying that they are tweeting pictures of it, I'll go ahead and share. But I was under the impression that the beta versions of Olive Tree were under NDA, and I wasn't supposed to talk about it.
They may be, but like I said, they sent out a tweet this week that showed a verse on the watch.
So you can't talk about Kevin, but we can.
That's right.
Well, there we go. No, I think it's interesting, and I'd like to see more of that. I'm an Android Wear user, and I'm going to be going back to Pebble later this year when the Pebble Time Steel comes out. But I am intrigued by the Apple Watch because I do have an iPhone, and I'd like to see it. I just think it's overpriced for what it is, and
everything from Apple is overpriced.
Right. So, and I'm an Android primary phone is Android, and so it's not going to work for me. It was interesting that Apple didn't allow. There was a certain app for Android, for Pebble rather, that got denied because it mentioned that it was an app for Pebble, and that blew up a big. The knee-jerk tech press went crazy over that, saying, "Oh, Apple's dumping non-Apple apps out of the App Store." And of course, Apple came back and said, "No, that wasn't it at all. It was something entirely different that caused the hullabaloo over it." So I don't think Pebble or the potential of an Android Wear app for the iPhone is really in danger. I hope not, anyway.
No, I don't think so.
But I think that's interesting. You were speaking of Bible apps. You had mentioned, Wes, that there's a new ESV mobile app that has come out by an old friend, Stephen Johnson, who used to be with Olive Tree. What do you know about that, and have you played with it? What do you think?
Let me get this up on my screen here. Give me 1 second. Oh, darn it. It's one of those things where I got to bring it back up again. Hold on. Because it went, when Windows go hiding? Here, everybody can see my Apple desktop. There we go. It went away. Oh, you know what? My iPad went to sleep.
That usually happens.
It's amazing. I'll bring it back up. Anyway, Stephen Johnson used to be on Olive Tree. Good guy. I met him at Bible Tech a few years ago. This is going to take a little bit to get up. And he left Olive Tree a little bit ago. I'm going to bring this over to another screen.
I didn't realize that Stephen had left.
Yeah. Why is it? Hold on.
Did he leave after Zondervan bought them?
You know what? I don't know.
I think it was before, actually.
Yeah, I think it was before. He went to go do his own thing. I thought.
He was somebody else entirely for a while. Is this while you're looking for it, is this the one? Okay.
Go ahead.
Now, ESV's had a Bible app on, in both Play Stores, both the Play Store and the App Store for quite a while. Is this just an update or a new, entirely different
The way
app?
that Stephen was tweeting about it, it said something he's been working on for a while, and I think this is just a totally new app. So I downloaded it just to take a look at it. His big thing is that it was a touch, it was a touch-first UI. It was, it was all designed, all the speak for that. I think the typography is really nice. I think. There's a read mode. It took me a while to find settings. I don't like how they're buried a little bit. You have to bring up the device and then go down here, and I didn't quite like that. But there's a reader's mode that takes out all the numbers, so you just keep reading through, which I thought was really kind of nice. The font sizes I'm a little bit partial to being able to control my font size just because with my son with his eyesight, and I think that the ranges of font sizes are a little bit too narrow, but again, they're going for basic. Their themes, they just have three themes. They have a good night mode, which I've become a very big fan of night mode for reading on a tablet screen.
My wife has become a fan of me reading in night mode.
Oh, that's awesome. So, and then you can change it from vertical to horizontal scrolling. So I actually kind of like that. Um, you know, highlighting verses is very easy, and you can just add notes, and you can actually share the stuff and put it out. You know, I'm not a big ESV reader, so this as a daily use app for me, this doesn't serve a whole lot of purpose. But I think they did a very good job designing it. There's good, you know, there's nice reading plans that they have built in. I think Stephen did a great job with the layout. I think he buried the settings a little bit too far, and then you really have to be in kind of flat UI thought to be able to understand that you tap the verse reference there to be able to switch your thing.
That's something I'm not clear on. Maybe you can answer. Is this a separate app from the ESV app that Crossways had for a while?
I don't know if it was an update to the ESV app or if it's a completely new thing. So let's take a look on
see if the Bible version is there, or just the version number. I ran off without my iPad today, so I don't have that with me. But I had that app on my iPad. I reviewed it when it first came out years and years ago on my website.
Right. Well, it looks like there are two in here. But one of them's done by Crossway. So this might be just an update to the Crossway app.
Well, I did a search for, and there's something called Nuzzle.
Yeah.
N-U-Z-Z-E-L, and apparently it says the new ESV Bible app. But I think maybe that's just an account on.
It says this is version 3.1. So it could be. I mean, I think they're putting it in the update, but I do believe it was a big rewrite. At least that's the way Stephen was putting it, because he's been working on this for some time, and I had never used it before. So I thought it was interesting. If you are a big ESV fan, to download a Bible for free, that's a pretty capable app. I think it's very pretty looking. In a lot of respects, it gets out of your way. Not a bad pickup for something.
Well, and the one I don't know if it's the same one or not yet, but if it's the same one that I've had on my iPad, I just looked and I don't have it on my phone. They had like voice in it, you know, you could hear recorded audio. They had they released a study Bible for it this week, but I think it has the ESV study Bible too already in it. There's a new study Bible that they've.
Yeah, this is a global study Bible, and then they have. I just saw on the website they have one that you can download for $17.
Yeah.
So it's a nice app. I love the way that they did the verse chooser. It like I said, it gets out of the way. I don't like that you can't choose which verse in the chapter. You can only choose chapter. Or at least is that what I just figured out? Did I go to Judges 2? No, I can't do it. No, I can't. You can only go to the chapters. But I thought they did a good job. It's like I said, if you're an ESV user, it's one to pick up for free. Why not?
Well, my thing about a lot of these Bible apps, you know, how many Bible apps do you need after a while? And if this is a one-trick pony and all it does is show me the ESV, yeah, no thanks. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you're a new purchaser, if you don't want to build a library, you just want a Bible to read, and you like the ESV, this is a good app to pick up.
Yeah.
It's not going to fit our workflows because we're doing more things with it.
I would say it's still too limiting because I want people that I recommend a Bible app to, I want them to be able to grow in their study of the Bible. And so again, if all it does is read a Bible, I'm not going to recommend it to even people. Now I will recommend an app, say like the one from Life Church, the U version, because you know it has more features. It allows you to look at different translations. It allows you to track some reading, highlighting, things like that. You know, and so again, that's just me. I'm not. I like the ESV. It's not my primary, but anyway. So I would think people, again, it's free, so go try it out. But
yeah,
how many Bible apps?
Yeah, and I agree with you. It doesn't match my workflow. It doesn't necessarily match the way that I would want people to be reading. But if all they want is that, it's a good app to pick up.
Yeah. Well, Rick, what have you got? Now, you tried, or you actually have ordered we were talking about the Apple Watch. You've ordered it, and you say it's maybe not coming this summer anymore. Maybe it's coming sooner.
Well, Mine, I do regularly check it, though. I was listening to John Gruber's podcast while I was driving this morning, and they were talking about how you get a notification if you track your credit card. You get a notification early in the morning, and then it arrives that day. So it sounds like they're shipping them before they even charge you. But I tend to look every day to see if it's shipped, and it hasn't shipped yet. But the window that they're saying for me is May 13th through 27th, although some people have received them earlier than that, when they've been promised that same window. So I would like it to come in, but I just, nothing yet. I did look and saw that my Surface 3 that I ordered has been, that my credit card's been charged for that. So I haven't received any shipping notice from Microsoft, but they must be getting close to that. I know they had a promise date of May 5th. So they may be.
Yeah, I'm getting one of those too on May 5th. I put my pre-order in at Best Buy and was assured that it would be there on the 5th. They couldn't guarantee me a time of day, but they said it would be there on the date that it's coming in. It'll be interesting to see how well this does, because I think a lot of people, the barrier to getting the Surface Pro 3 was the price on it. That's an excellent tool. I've mentioned on here before that it's kind of my go-to mobile computing device now, which has actually pulled me back into the Windows. All I have now on my church desktop is a Windows computer. I took my Mac Mini home because my son wants to start learning how to develop apps for the iOS App Store this summer on his summer break, so I'm going to let him work on that. But so I think the Surface 3, it'll be interesting also to see how powerful it is. Can it run some powerful software? I know that Accordance runs great on any of these low-powered tablets. BibleWorks does a nice job. Olive Tree runs fine. Word Search runs fine. But guess what? The big mammoth Logos Bible software it really comes to its knees. I actually returned the Toshiba Encore Write 2 or Encore 2 Write that I reviewed just because I want to get the Surface because I think it'll have a little bit more power and hopefully it'll be able to run some of those more powerful software programs.
My son is actually due to upgrade his iPad, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I'm really seriously considering I'm just getting him the Surface 3.
Well, it's a great. I'm sorry, I interrupted you there. It's a great connection. It's a great option for someone who doesn't want both a computer and a tablet, because that's what it is. It's both a computer and a tablet, and the type cover is good enough. It's not great, but it's good enough to use for long typing periods. And if it's not, buy yourself a decent
keyboard,
USB or Bluetooth keyboard and hook it up to it, and it'll do just fine. In fact, the Windows, I'm trying to get the term right, the Microsoft mobile Bluetooth keyboard, or universal mobile Bluetooth keyboard that I reviewed recently for GottaBeMobile.com is a great little mobile keyboard.
Yeah.
With a cover on it.
I have three things that are holding me back from just saying, yeah, this is definitely the direction I'm going. The first is that Windows 10, as gorgeous as it will be, and it looks, I mean, the demo they did this week was incredible. The dang thing still uses the Windows registry, and I have so many nightmares with that thing that I don't like. I'm really leery of going back to it. And I know I hope they've improved it over the years, but holy crow, I don't want to go back there.
I don't have a clue if they've improved it because I haven't even opened it or looked at it in.
It's why Windows machines slow down or so much over the year, because it's this big mammoth database that runs everything. The other is that I have friends who have Surfaces for their sons, and they've already downloaded malware on it just by clicking. And the nice thing about the iPad is that it's a utility. I don't have to administrate it constantly. And to get him a computer, then suddenly it'll be an administrative nightmare. So those are two things that are keeping me back. The third is more his perception. When he sees that it's a computer, and not, because he does make a distinction between an iPad and a real computer, which I keep telling him is not real. But when he sees it's a computer and it'll run like, technically he could download a Steam game and try to run on it. And I sat down and we played with one this week, and I said, Josh, you have to understand, This will not run these games. Like, this is not play game computer. Like, I would get this and you would get it because it's got the pen. He loved writing on the screen with it, with the pen. You take it to school and you'd be using it for your textbooks and all those things, but this is not PlayStation. Yeah, Dad, I understand. He doesn't understand. Like, he's gonna get it and he's gonna go, it won't run this thing and put it on. Why was there like, because teenagers they tell you whatever they think you want to hear.
Well, if you get them the Surface Pro 3, it will run games pretty well. Actually, it's got a pretty powerful. It's not going to run the most recent, but it'll run.
Right, but he's got an iMac to be his big computer, and I'm not spending another $1,200 to get him set up with a convertible tablet. Plus, the nice thing about the Surface 3 is that it's much more comparable to an iPad. So it's utility to utility, and that's what I want.
Antoine, you finally got your connection. It looks like going here, and you had mentioned that you got a chance to play with the Apple Watch as well. We're going to sort of jump back to give you a chance to put your 2 cents in, because I'd really like to hear what you have to say about it. Maybe he'll do so.
So I went to the Apple store here in Charlotte last weekend, actually. A little bit of research on my end. And then also, just a chance to see what my lady had to think about it. I run every tech thing that runs through my head. I run it through her because her filter is totally different than mine. And it's interesting, when we have those conversations about what is necessary, what isn't. Form factor, form and feel, the weight of the watch, excellent. It feels like a watch, so that much you don't have to worry about. For my little girly wrist, because I've got girly wrist, it was better to see the smaller watch on my wrist than it was to see the larger. And at the same time, there's no diminishing readability. I will admit though, the Apple techs, they very much noticed my Samsung Gear S on my wrist as soon as I walked in the door, and so that was pretty funny. They had that almost "what are you here for" look, initially thinking I had an Apple Watch. So that was pretty cool. The polish on the demo units was incredible. I don't really know how to say that otherwise. There are things on my Gear S that you can tell that somebody sat behind a computer, PC, tablet, whatever, a Surface Pro 3, and designed this and never really put it on their wrist to see how it works in day-to-day use. You don't get that impression with the Apple Watch. Everything from the flow between screens, the use of the crown, everything kind of fits the wrist paradigm. It's good. And not something I'm going to be buying anytime soon. I'll wait for them to put a cellular modem inside of it before I consider it. Or they support an iPad that has a cellular modem, so I don't have to worry about a phone ever again. But it's good, and it's I'd argue that Apple has probably designed the first version of the thing that's going to take over their iPhone.
That'd be interesting. I guess I'm too old-fashioned to see it, but I could see it as a temporary side thing for a lot of people. But again, Antoine, you're on the cutting edge often, so maybe in 5 years you'll be exactly right that that's what it'll happen. One of the things that I found interesting is that Microsoft is promising something that people have been promising for years now, and that is that their new Windows Phone operating system, when it finally reaches, will allow people to take their Windows Phone, plug it into a desktop monitor, a keyboard, and a mouse, and transform it suddenly into your desktop computer. And people have been promising this for a long time. There was what was it called, the OQO computer a long time ago that I just couldn't wait to get, but then it turned out to be a bomb, and it was underpowered and didn't run very well, and the The Surface Pro 3
Folio.
can actually do that because it's got a docking system, and I did that very nicely. Although I just never really used it that way because I have a full-powered desktop computer. But it's interesting that that's a promise, and Microsoft is saying we'll do that in the future. Then they said, well, our Windows Phone isn't going to come out when the Windows 10 version comes out, but you can do that right now, can't you, Antoine? I mean, that's something that you've been bragging about doing that for years, haven't you?
I have been doing it for years. And the only probably reason why I haven't done it longer than that is these days, well, I don't push that as much. I'm weird, I guess. I'm morphing all over again. It used to be the case that I would do it with my Nokia phones. I ran a content management system and web server on my Nokia phones, and by plugging my phone into a computer, projector, TV, I basically got a bigger screen to work with. And then that Nokia device also had a Bluetooth keyboard, so I could go ahead and do PC-ish type items to it. You used to be able to do this with Windows Mobile, not Windows Phone, but Windows Mobile, back in version 5 and version 6 and 6.5. It was the grand design for Windows Mobile 7 to do exactly what they're doing for Windows 10, which is interesting. Palm used to have the Folio, which I always wanted because I thought that was really cool. Have a trio and then have this little laptop device with you. And then you had BlackBerry, who was trying to pull something similar off with their Playbook. And that ability to have your device in the pocket and the tablet in hand. These days, about the last device I think that does that, AT&T sells it in the U.S., Asus Pad Phone, which is a tablet and phone. The phone is the CPU for the tablet. You slide it in, you call it a day. You dock the tablet onto a keyboard, and you have your full laptop. Asus didn't sell as many of those here, but they're already on their 4th or 5th generation of that. They seem to be doing pretty decent in that niche.
Rick, is that something you'd want?
I'm sorry, what?
Is that something you'd want to try to?
Well, yeah. Of course, now I'm so embedded into the Apple ecosystem, I want Apple to do it. But it is very much the desire that I've had for a long time to have one device that you carry with you, and it can then, it has a mobile interface when you're carrying it, but then you can come home and you can put it into, a scenario where you've got a monitor and things. And this is exactly what Windows is going to do. You're going to have the regular Windows 10 desktop, or at least you're going to be able to run the Windows. I don't know about if it's the desktop or not, but I know you can run the apps in their Windows desktop version. You connect this to a regular screen, but you'll have the mobile version when you carry it with you. And of course, Microsoft is really set up to do this well because of OneDrive. So even if you have a device that doesn't have a whole lot of storage, all of your files can be saved to OneDrive. So I think that'll be. I think that will be very helpful to a lot of people. And I think I'd mentioned the other day when we were discussing over Google Chat that Ubuntu has made this available. I haven't tested this out, but I know that there is a way that you can take an Android phone, and when you connect the Android phone to these devices, you can get a full Ubuntu desktop. But I've never tried that out. But seems like a very desirable choice to scale down some of all these things that we're carrying.
And the Windows Phone.
And I just was demonstrating just a moment ago while you were talking. I paired my Logitech MX Master, just the best Bluetooth mouse you could ever imagine. I paired it to my Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge and was pointing with it. I've already paired a keyboard to it, which I don't have out of my computer bag right now. And then if I do Miracast to a screen that has a Miracast receiver hooked up to it, I have a desktop computer where I just walk in, these things will connect automatically by wireless, and then I connect it to the display, and I've got an Android computer right now running a version of Android. I could do my Bible software. I could, thanks to Microsoft, I can run Word, or if I don't want to use Word, I can use any of their Google apps.
But does the interface change though when you?
No, it'll just look like my phone.
I think that's the beauty of this, of what Windows what Microsoft is planning with Windows 10 is that the interface will actually change. So you won't be running a mobile version of Word, just blown up on the screen, but it'll be a regular version of Word.
Well, that's a positive or a negative because my phone screen has a higher resolution than my desktop screen.
Yeah.
And so, my desktop is 1920 by 1080. My phone is, 26 something by 1440, or I can't remember exactly what it is. It's a higher resolution. But getting a desktop interface, maybe that might be a positive, or you might look on the other side and say, I already know this interface. I don't have to learn a new one, and it's functional. It works just fine. I had the HP SlateBook 14 for a little while in for review. It's an Android laptop. It's not, Android laptop isn't exactly the greatest experience in the world, but I could see this. I hadn't really thought about this until Windows mentioned this, and I'm now thinking, I'm going to try this out sometime real soon and see how that works and experiment with it, and maybe even use it for a few days as my primary desktop computer to see how I like it. So.
And it's not a full Windows 10 desktop. It's pared down a little bit, just because you don't have all the processing power and storage and stuff. But I mean, it is a functional desktop that does alter the UI for the display that you're on.
Right.
So I don't know if you're necessarily running a full version of Word. You might be running more something akin to the Office 365 web interface of Word.
Yeah.
So it's still phenomenal.
What's Antoine, don't you're the Nokia guy, and Windows bought Nokia. A lot of these recent Nokia phones do have enough processing power compared to, say, the lower powered Atom laptops that run a full version of Windows. Couldn't you do that on a Nokia phone that's running, with a decent processor and memory?
Every phone that has come out since 2007 has had enough processing power to run anything that you want to run on a desktop. Whether or not the application has been coded nicely to work on a mobile is a whole different can of beans. Right now, these days, every phone is packing at least a 1.5 gigahertz processor that's running 2 to 4 cores. That's more than enough for 90% of the folks out there. It's actually too much. I go for less power and more battery life in a heartbeat.
Me too.
What Microsoft has done with their Nokia acquisition is no different than what Nokia was already doing. They give you a solid enough piece of hardware. Depending on the range, you're going to have a memory card plus some extra internal memory to play with. So you got some program space plus a place to stick that database. And for all except the lowest end Nokia, you have a VGA output or composite output via the headset jack. For some of the newer devices, you're getting a Miracast output. For your Android devices, you get Miracast and Chromecast. Heck, for your Apple devices, you got Apple Play. So I mean, there's really, for years, there's been no excuse for if we wanted to try doing one device and then spreading it across different screens. I guess now that folks, when Microsoft says they're doing it, and then Apple's got Continuum going, and Google's got their persistent login across devices going, it's now making a little bit more sense.
Cool, Les. You had something you wanted to say about this?
No, I just want to talk about that Windows desktop, and I think you're right. There's enough processing, like raw processing power. I think the biggest hiccup is how much memory these devices have. And I know you can use the flash storage, but then you're running into borrowing. And like you said, I would give up power for battery life any day.
Yeah, I think the battery life right now is, I think, the biggest hurdle or the biggest drawback in mobile anything right now. But hey, we've got a new person on with us today, LaRosa. He's new and yet he's old. I'm not talking about his age. He's been with us before, and we're really glad to have LaRosa with us. We're excited that you decided to be able to join us this morning. It looks like maybe you're in a hotel room somewhere.
Yes, I'm at Bible-Tech.
Oh, okay. Cool. How's that going?
It's going well. I'm exhausted. I woke up early yesterday, got to the office about 10 o'clock, got on the road to Seattle from Spokane. Then it was a long night of interacting, reconnecting, and talks get started at 9 o'clock this morning, but I'm an early bird, so I'm up with not a whole lot to do. And I saw you guys were on, so I figured I'd just hop on.
Well, that's great. Tell us what Bible-Tech is.
Bible-Tech is a technology conference that Logos Bible Software puts on, and basically it's people from all around the industry coming together talking about what they're doing in Bible and technology. I'm actually one of the presenters this year, and I've got a talk this afternoon about biblical illiteracies, just taking the concept of we have a problem with Bible study and people not reading and understanding the Bible, and what can we as Bible study do to tackle that problem?
That's awesome. You know, I've always wished that there was a Bible-Tech West, and Antoine and I have actually even talked about maybe trying to organize something like that here in the Charlotte area. So what's the most interesting thing that you've seen so far out there at Bible-Tech, LaRosa?
Well, nothing's really started yet. Last night was just kind of a fellowship and dinner with people. So things will get started this morning. So looking forward to some of the talks.
What do they got on tap today that looks interesting?
Let's see. Let me pull out the schedule. Let's see. We've got Andy Wu talking this morning about dynamic linguistics. We've got a talk on how mobile tech makes relationships foundational. Meaningful engagement through mobile technology, localizing Bible data, Bible typography, Bible tagging, lots of fun stuff. And that's just this morning.
Well, awesome. We've been talking about a couple of things. We've mentioned the Apple Watch, and then we're also now discussing Windows. Microsoft has just announced that they're going to allow their mobile phones to hook up to monitor external input devices to kind of turn their phone into a desktop. And is that something you'd be interested in, LaRosa?
That's something that would make a lot of sense for a lot of people. Only in the sense that phones are powerful enough now where, I mean, I'm using a Note 4 and I can do quite a bit of work on my Note. So if I can plug it up to a screen and get more work done, I would be happy with that.
Yeah, with Android, you actually have that capability, especially on a Samsung device because of Miracast and then their ability to hook up to Bluetooth pointing devices like mice, and of course you could always hook up to a keyboard. You're also, a lot of people may not know, Olive Tree is LaRosa's employer. He just mentioned being at the office, and Olive Tree tweeted earlier this week that they are going to come out with an Apple Watch friendly version. Have you had a chance to play with that or look at it or see it?
I have seen it. One of our developers actually went out to California and got some one-on-one time with an Apple Watch and got to see our app running on it and do some dev testing before it launched. And he was actually able to get his Apple Watch earlier this week, so he's been playing around with it, and so it's really nice. And there quite a few Apple Watches.
When will that go live, or is it already? I don't have an Apple Watch.
So if you have an Apple Watch, you can use it right now.
Oh, okay. So it's
your NDA is lifted, Kevin. You can talk about it legally.
Well, I wasn't sure, LaRosa, whether I was. I didn't know it was something that was in the wild already, and so I kind of thought that I was supposed to keep quiet about. Because I know when I first signed up to be an Olive Tree beta tester, you know, I was kind of told, you know, don't say anything until we've said anything, and I've been so busy this week I didn't know that you guys had said anything yet. So.
Yeah, it was live as soon as the Apple Watch launched.
Oh, okay, cool.
Ooh, you're a launch app. Well done.
So what do you think is the most useful use case for that, having a Bible app that works along with the Apple Watch or any watch wearable?
Well, right now our app is pretty simple. Basically what it does is it shows you the last verse you were reading and it shows you the verse of the day. But one thing we were actually talking about last night with another company is the whole idea of doing reminders, where if you're trying to memorize Bible verses, just have your watch randomly vibrate and remind you, hey, look at this verse and start trying to memorize it. just throughout the day. So just different things like that that can help people engage with the Bible and keep it at the forefront of their minds throughout the day are some of the things that we're thinking about.
Well, let me make a suggestion to you since you're in a position to do something about it. My favorite tool for memorizing Bible verses is the progressive removal of a word. For example, John 3:16, for God so loved the world, you take out God and then world and then love. So you're doing, it's basically repetition, but you're progressively saying more of it by memory. And that would be awesome if you had that on your watch. And there you are looking at the screen, and whatever your Bible verse is, you're reading it just repeatedly and just without even doing anything. It's just every 2 seconds or every 10 seconds or however long the verse is, it's pulling out a word. Something like that would be awesome. And you know what? It's funny that someone released a wearable that hooks up to your phone. I don't know, was it like a year ago or something like that? So Olive Tree could have been doing this a long time ago. What's holding you up on the Android side, man?
It's not Apple.
I know. That's just so. The old catch-22. If it's not Apple, then it doesn't get any love, and so therefore it doesn't get love because it's not Apple. But I want you, one of you guys, you need to hire someone who loves Android over there, because Android. I'll be honest with you, La Rosa, I don't use Olive Tree hardly at all anymore, and the primary reason is the Android app is so far behind.
Yeah, well, we've actually got an update coming. Hopefully, don't hold me to this, but we're working on having our Android update out next month.
Okay.
Hey, Kevin, wait until the Windows Phone 10 comes out and the Android or the Olive Tree apps are running on that, the desktop versions, and all the Android people are going to be screaming in rage. They just jumped us 4 versions.
I'll believe that when I see it. I don't think that Windows Phone is going to usurp Android in priority on anybody's.
Oh, I don't think it's priority. I just think the fact that the thing already exists, so they can take the Windows app and be like, here you go, it's running on the phone thing now.
Yeah, that's going to be a whole lot harder to do than you think it is, because the Windows Phone isn't just going to automatically run all the Windows software out there.
Yeah, it's got to be compiled with the UI and everything.
Yeah.
By the way, in regard to what we were talking about earlier with being able to use Windows Phone with other devices, they're saying that new hardware is going to have to come out to do that. So evidently it's not going to work on the existing Windows phones. And, I think I told you I used a Windows Phone all last summer. I used the Nokia Icon, which I really liked, but one of the many frustrating things about it was that you didn't have Bluetooth keyboard access. To me, of course, I was using an Icon, which had a 5-inch screen, but think about like the 1520 that has a near 6-inch screen. That would have been perfect for hooking up a little mobile keyboard to and using as a tablet computer, but it just wasn't available.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
That issue with the Bluetooth keyboard and Bluetooth stack, it wasn't Microsoft's fault. It was Verizon's.
No, it doesn't work.
Verizon has. Yeah, no, that the international. No, with the international models, the 935, you were fine in hooking up a Bluetooth keyboard, but not.
That's different than what I was told. I was told that Microsoft, the Windows Phone did not work with any external Bluetooth keyboard.
Oh no, my I'll call him an MVP because I'm not allowed to say what his position is for Microsoft. But let's just say he's really important to Microsoft doing Windows Phone in the United States and places abroad. Yeah, he's definitely uses a keyboard with his Windows.
Okay.
Whether it was passed or not, but I know that Microsoft intends for you to hook up a Bluetooth keyboard to their current Microsoft phones, because that keyboard that I reviewed, the Windows Universal Mobile Keyboard, in the packaging it talks about hooking it up to your Windows Phone or your Windows tablet on it, and so they're intending for that to happen right now. But I want to get back to La Rosa over at Bible Tech. I'm curious, do you think anybody will be live streaming some of these presentations from over there using something like their device, say an iPhone, and maybe Periscope or a Meerkat or something like that?
Unfortunately not. I might try to hook up my phone and see what I can do, and so we'll see what happens and how
They
that
haven't
really
told
goes.
you not to or anything like that.
What was that?
They
Actually,
haven't told you not to. They are prohibiting it.
They haven't told us that we couldn't. They just said that they don't have anything set up to actually do recording here that they were planning on doing.
LaRosa, see if you can connect with DJ Wang, because there's a good chance that he might do it if he's not already pulling something off on Periscope. But
I'll
he's
try
at
to find
Bible Tech. Yeah, DJ's a real cool guy, and he will. He's one of the guys that are going that is very forward, very far ahead in terms of media tech, and will very likely, if he's not already planning to do it, he'll probably go ahead and do it just because that's part of his MO.
Bible Tech was probably the most fun I've ever had using Twitter in my life. Back in 2008, where Twitter's still kind of the new thing, and there's are there still two concurrent sessions running, Larissa? Yep. So there's two concurrent sessions running, and people are like live tweeting throughout the entire sessions. And you had people highlighting stuff from the other talk, and people who are in the talk that I'm in are going, "Hey, can you ask the guy this thing?" They would relay the question. They would ask the presenter in the other room the thing, and then the answer would come back out. And then you had people who were taking both talks at the same time, and the information coming in, and there was this whole conversation that was meshing the two conversations. It was the greatest fun I've ever had in social media.
I could really imagine that would be a great fun for someone like me who just, I can't get out that far, being able to follow some of that on a lot of these. And that brings us to, this idea of Meerkat and Periscope. If you don't know what they are, Meerkat is an app that came out earlier this year. All it does is you take your phone and your video camera, you start going live with it. It's live. I don't know if you can record it now. I think when it originally came out, you couldn't actually save the video, but people can see it through Twitter, and that'll allow them to pop open their version of the app and follow what you're saying and doing. So it's kind of like a man on the street citizen reporting. But for conferences like this, when people can't attend them, so long as the conference organizer doesn't mind you doing that, I could find that really useful, going to lots of different things. I've even thought about either Periscope or Meerkatting my Wednesday night Bible study when I don't have a camera and I don't have a second person to run all the technology. Just setting my phone up on the lectern in front of me and kind of point it up at me and begin doing that for maybe there's someone out there who'd like to follow my teaching on Wednesday nights, because actually my Wednesday night teaching is when I think I do my best Bible teaching of the week. During
just do like I'm doing. Just do a Google Hangout.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Google Hangout would be good as well, but it's so convenient and so simple and so quick, and actually, to be quite honest with you, there's just not as many people on Google as there are on Twitter. I hate to say that, but that's just kind of the fact of it. Wes, do you have any interest in doing things like that, or what use case do you see it for church and Bible usage?
I had never really even considered it. I've said this in the past. I'm still not sure where that digital wall and where meat space interaction kind of hit for something that's live. And I guess that's because I've had so many conversations with people who are like, "Oh, I went to church today. I watched so-and-so on television." I'm going, it's not the same thing. And I know that social media adds a whole nother level of interaction, so it changes a little bit different. But I'm still losing something of that incarnational communion. So it's not something that I've thought of. I've done video podcasts or video Bible studies in the past where I've done like 4-minute studies, just running through one question and then saying, "Now everybody tweet, bring back your comments to me." And I thought that was interesting, but it never had legs for me. So I'm still on the fence, but it's something that I'm considering doing in the future. I like your idea of I just sit up there and the Bible study goes. Can you flip the camera while you're streaming? So if someone asks a question, you can flip it out to them and actually get them on camera?
Yeah, I know that you can on Periscope because I watched the Periscope guys doing sort of a update on what we're working on video yesterday, and he was doing that. The guy, the CEO of the company was talking, and then as he would come up to one of his developers, he'd flip the camera around and say, show us what you're working on, that kind of thing. So I know you can do it on Periscope. And to be quite honest with you, Meerkat, was the first big name in this area, at least recently. I know there were big names doing it before in a different
Kick
form factor, but in this very simple and easy way, it was Meerkat that jumped out first. But I think Periscope's going to have a better run because of their, it is Twitter, and Twitter is Periscope. But Rick, what do you think? Is this something you find interesting as far as using it for church purposes?
Yeah, that would be really interesting. I mean, there's lots of applications. I mean, you think of like, even basic things like shut-ins, or of course you'd have to have someone on the other end that could do the technology. But even for I teach a Bible study class on Sunday mornings, and sometimes people can't be there. It would be or just as a way to involve more people. I think there's lots of applications that could be done with technology like this.
How about you, Antoine?
I've been a very big advocate of two-way video in the church for a long time. Believe it, the resistance to that has usually come from pastors more than it's come from congregants. And you might have kind of heard it in the way Wes was describing his experience or his perspective on it. A lot of what we do from a pastoral side is very one-directional with feedback, if you will. So we speak out and then we get feedback. But Periscope and Meerkat are 100% duplex, a full duplex, two-way communication all the time. It's not merely just one person talking out and everybody going, ooh, look at that. It's really like, hey, that person's talking and that back chat is the front of the door chat. Things are happening at the same time, and that really seems to disrupt, that normal use paradigm. There are a few churches that I've encouraged to go ahead and try that in the past, and I've gotten a stinky eye from them. And then they went out and bought some really cool, expensive cameras and realized that all their congregants wanted to use their phones anyway, and so they're left with an AV team with expensive cameras and not enough training. So I think there's a place for it, especially in the guerrilla style, evangelism or ministry. If you're on site, if you got your street teams out and you're on site, it's a lot more approachable to pull up your phone and do the video there, and whether it's Hangout or Meerkat, Periscope, whatever, that's usually going to be a lot more acceptable, a lot more approachable than you show it with a video team, and really big boom mic, and so there is a use for it. I think that we as a church, at least the institutional side of the church, we kind of have to think about it less from the concept of us being a broadcaster, and more on the side of us being a shared window to those persons that we're broadcasting with.
Wes?
Yeah, I mean, I have an example of the two-way video going in, and it predates Meerkat and Kick and all those other things, and Periscope. We did it at Skype. We had a missionary that we support from our denomination who runs a educational facility for women who have been rescued out of the slave trade, or the sex slave trade, and get them back on their feet, try to get them citizenship, which they've completely lost by the time they get done, and educate them. And so she's always coming, when she comes back, we visit, we have a great relationship with her. And so I thought it would be neat to do kind of a "you're still in Thailand" interview with him, or with her. And so we set up, but I actually set up my Mac so that it had two cameras, that it had one on the podium for when someone from the congregation was asking a question, and one for me who was kind of running the interview. And we projected her up on the screen, and we talked to her in Thailand, and she was literally the other side of the world. It was a 12-hour difference between us and her. and had like a 10-minute conversation. And I think I must have mentioned this before. There was this great moment where someone said, "Well, I have a question for Kit." So she went up to the podium, and she was on camera, and she looked out and she asked Kit the question, and then she went to go sit down. And this woman on the other side of the world goes, "Don't go anywhere. I want to see you as I respond." That was the coolest moment that I've had using technology, like this type of technology in church ever. And I thought that was really cool. So I definitely see use cases for it. I would put it into more of those moments where, like Antoine said, conversation is what we're definitely going for. And I think that's a really important thing. So like what you're doing with your Bible study, I think that's a good use for it too.
Yeah, I don't think Meerkat or Periscope are perfectly useful for what you're talking about there. We've used Skype that way. I've had guest speakers. My cousin is one of my cousins died in the plane crash over Lockerbie, Scotland, way back in the late
really?
back in the late 80s. He was on his way home for Christmas he was in the Army in Europe, and so Kenny, was in that plane, and of course it exploded, and he was one of the victims of it. Since then, my cousin Lisa, she has she's a lawyer, and she has taken, the pain and the grief of that experience of losing her brother and pushed it into, forgiveness and, my thought line isn't coming with me very well. But anyway, the point is I wanted to interview her in my congregation, and give her a platform to be able to speak more and have more people hear about all the things that she's doing. She's met Gaddafi, and if you know the backstory of that plane, Gaddafi and some of the terrorists in Libya were behind that explosion. And she was for a long time before Libya blew up. She was going over there and doing reconciliation things and sharing the gospel with people in a very private and quiet way. So I wanted to do that. So we interviewed her. I interviewed her, and she spoke about, what it's like to have to forgive in the most unspeakable kind of tragedy in your life when you lose a loved one. And then, we've had missionaries from different places. That's a great tool. I say all that to say, those were very two-way. That person could see us and we could see them, like you talked about. With Meerkat or Periscope, I can see the person broadcasting, and I can pop in some questions, but pretty soon it gets so overwhelming that they're not really getting a lot from the audience because it just rushes up and moves out so much. So. But anyway, it's interesting. LaRosa, it's so great to have you with us today, man, and I'm glad that you joined us. And I know you got to kick it because the conference is probably getting going, or you need to get ready and that sort of thing. But I hope you can join us again. And we've talked about you coming on and doing a Theotek Extra, demonstrating some of the cool stuff that Olive Tree is doing. So we'd love to see that happen sometime soon, especially after you get back from Bible Tech.
Yeah, definitely. And if you guys want to keep up with Bible Tech and everything that's going on, we're using the hashtag Bible Tech on Twitter all day and tomorrow. So if you want to catch up on what's going on, or just go to BibleTechConference.com and also FaithLife.com. There's a Bible Tech group on there where there's a bunch of discussion going on, and where you should be able to find a lot of the documents as well. So keep up with that, and I'll put a link in chat for people so they can access a copy of my talk. So I'll put that in chat for you guys, and you can share that later in the show notes.
Thanks, Larissa.
Thanks, man. Well, listen, it's hit that time. We're at 10 o'clock, and a lot of us need to probably run and go and do ministry. And so we're going to have to sign off on here. Thanks for watching. As always, sign up and follow us through iTunes, the audio, and Stitcher Radio, the audio version. You can go to theotek.com, where I post usually sometime the next week the video version of this. Subscribe to us on YouTube. And by the way, thanks to iTunes and Stitcher, you can get just about any big podcasting app in Android or on iPhone, you can probably follow us on there as well. I've have it signed up on Pocket Cast, which is my favorite. So if you want to follow us that way, we'd love to hear from you. So feel free to shoot us some information. Just follow me on Google Plus at Kevin Purcell, all one word, my name. Where can they find you guys online real quickly? Antoine?
You can find me at AntoineRJWright.com or MobileMinistryMagazine.com. Twitter, at ARJWright or MobileMinMag, and same places at Google+.
Rick?
Twitter at ThisLamp, and that's a reference to my very neglected website, thislamp.com. But one day I'll start writing on that pretty regularly again.
And Wes?
PainfullyHopeful.me. I'm blogging every day in 2015, and today's post is a non-spoiler review of Age of Ultron.
I saw it last night.
So very
Hey, I have typos. Don't talk about that.
I said non-spoiler.
And then also you can like us on Facebook at Theotek. So thanks everybody for watching. It's been great to be with you today.
Thank you.